One of my father's classmates, whose father was a Chinese worker who fought in World War I and stayed in France after the war, completed the formalities for his son and father to go to France for work-study in 1937, and my father's wish to study in France for many years was about to be realized. Unexpectedly at this time, grandmother suddenly died. July 7th Lugu Bridge incident occurred, the national tragedy at the head of the sudden change in the family. France cannot go, the father's fate has changed. The school where he worked was to start Japanese-style education, and my father, who had been a middle school music teacher for 3 years, did not want to stay in Beijing and work for the Japanese. Considering that Kaifeng Du Mingyuan was still safe there, he was ready to leave Beijing to find her. As my father was leaving, he said to his brother, "Keep an eye on the family, big deal. 3 months, 6 months at the most, we'll fight our way back." In the name of visiting his grandmother's grave, my father blended out of Beijing under the bayonets of Japanese soldiers, rode a bicycle to Tianjin, took a sea liner from the mouth of Tonggu to Qingdao, and then took a train before arriving in Kaifeng. On the ship, he heard a schoolgirl singing his slave love. He was amazed at how fast the song spread and felt the power of the song for the first time. Du Mingyuan's father, Du Jizeng, was nominally an enlightened gentleman, but in fact he was a Communist Party member who joined the party in 1926 and came from a feudal bureaucratic family. In 1926, he was assigned by the party to carry out underground work in the northeast by Beijing, openly as a teacher and editor of the Harbin daily newspaper, and covertly operated in various parts of the northeast. First wanted by the northeastern warlord government, and then twice arrested by Japanese military police, he is considered one of the earliest leaders in the Mudanjiang area to create a Communist Party organization and a pioneer of the Mudanjiang workers' movement. At this time, Mr. Du was selling his family's assets to finance the anti-Japanese resistance. Old Mr. Du was also very supportive of his daughter going to the rear with her father and gave them a hurried and simple marriage ceremony at home. For the convenience of the road, he let Du Mingyuan and her father call themselves brother and sister and gave Du Mingyuan the name Luo Shan. Taking the 10 pieces of ocean given by Mr. Du, the father and Luo Shan went on the road together. When they left, Luo Shan's father, old Mr. Du, wrote a letter to the Xi'an office of the 8th Route Army for them to take with them. My father wanted to go to Wuhan and then to Kunming to find his big sister, Wang Mufang. When they got on the train, they were supposed to change trains in Zhengzhou to Hankou, but they fell asleep in a stuffy compartment, and when they woke up, the train had already passed Tongguan, so they had to go to Xi'an. Father and Roxanne arrived in Xi'an and found the office of the 8th Route Army, ready to go to Yan'an. But there was no car from Xi'an to Yan'an, so they had to go on foot. So they were a bit hesitant. It was inevitable that the 2 young intellectuals, fresh from the big city, would have to walk through the wilderness of the Northwest. At this time, my father met a fellow student who was enrolled in the Shanxi Camp School in Xi'an, which was called enrollment, but was actually collecting exiled students. At this point, the 2 of them had some sort of disagreement. Luo Shan wanted to study at the Yan'an Revolutionary University, while father didn't want to go back to school. He just wanted to devote himself to anti-Japanese work. They traveled to Linfen, Shanxi province. Within a few days, Secker also came, and meeting here surprised both young men. What a happy time they had spent together in Harbin at first. After the 9/18 incident, Secker went to Shanghai, joined the South China Society led by Tian Han, carried out the left-wing literature and art movement, and demonstrated his artistic talent on the stage of drama, writing, directing, and acting, and was very active. He led a theater team from Shanghai to Shanxi, which included Wang Zhenzi and He Luting. At this time, Secker was invited by Ding Ling, a female writer, to go to Hongdong to join the Northwest Field Service Corps of the 8th Route Army. Father also wanted to go with him. There were his friends there, people he knew and wanted to meet, all artists. Father decided that restudying was no longer necessary, and that the time had come to devote himself to the work of propagating the resistance. Luoshan wanted to stay at the Revolutionary University to study, but reluctantly went with her father to the War Service Corps. After arriving there, Luoshan was a bit uncomfortable. Life was very hard. She came from a rich family, never suffered a little. There is a process of adaptation. At the end of October 1937, my father and Luoshan went to the town of Wannan in Hongdong and joined the Northwest Field Service Corps of the 8th Route Army led by Ding Ling. Father was in the singing group, Luoshan was in the women's team, and Secker was in the drama group. The gentlemen took off their long shirts, the women took off their cheongzams, and all of them wore gray uniforms with 8th Route armbands. It was my father's first time in uniform. When the war service group moved to Linfen, my father met Xiao Jun and Xiao Hong. When my father was in Beijing, he had written an interlude for Xiao Jun's novel August Countryside, Slave Love, which was widely sung among the exiled students, and it was even more affectionate to see them here and now. One night, they stayed in a large classroom at a school in Linfen, where they used desks to make a bed for sleeping. Secker wrote the lyrics of a song, Old Folks Go to War, for my father to read, and he took it over and began to compose it. Based on an Italian opera melody he had sung in college, he modified it and soon composed a rousing and powerful song. The song was passionate and rhythmic. He sang it to the group, and they were so excited that they couldn't lie down and jumped up from their bunks to learn the song. The angry song broke through the heavy night curtain and spread far and wide. Originally, they were hot-blooded young people who joined the war with the ambition to serve the country, and the song aroused the passion of the group, and they sang until the 5th night. Early the next morning, the principal and teachers of the school arrived. "Gentlemen, don't go yet. Give us the songs you sang last night before you go." My father immediately taught and sang the song to the entire school, and it soon spread throughout the area.